Yeah, guys, we're going to get into our next segment, which is our main topic, and today we're going to be doing our review for Spider-Man Homecoming. All right, so this is how it's going to work, guys. We're going to do our non-spoiler review / our initial thoughts of the film. We're going to do our outlook and news for the movie in that world right now, and after that, we're going to give our P&Z score. Then we're going to get into our spoiler discussion of the movie, and we have a little fun question for each other towards the end of this, so look forward to that. All right, so guys, we all saw Spider-Man Homecoming. Travis, I want to start with you. How did you feel about this movie as soon as you walked out of the movie theater?
As soon as I walked out of the movie theater?
And of course, no spoilers. We'll get into spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers right now.
As Pedro stated, no spoilers. We'll get into that. Just initial thoughts walking out of the theater.
You know, I walked out of the movie theater, and...
After the movie, after the second
and
end
you
credits
guys all know how much of a Spider-Man fan I am, right?
Yeah,
of course. Very, very big. I'm really big into the comics and everything. I read them all the time. I walked out of the movie theater, and the biggest problem I have with this film was that it just wasn't fucking amazing enough to not be amazing. It was amazing. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
It was amazing, but not amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't follow that at all. Yeah. So you really liked the movie, right?
It was amazing. It was a great film. The movie was absolutely phenomenal. And by phenomenal, I mean it was the best Spider-Man film to date. Yeah.
Whew. All right, we'll get into that hot take in a minute. Pedro, we'll go on to you next.
Yeah, because I know what you're gonna say later. But me, all right. So I walked out of this movie theater with a big smile on my face because
agreed.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I didn't even see in theaters because I thought the advertisements just spoiled everything for me, so I had no need or that drive to go see it in theaters. But when Homecoming was coming out, no pun intended, but I was like, dude, I'm pumped for this movie. It wasn't even the fact that Iron Man was going to be in it. It's what got me excited for it, honestly. While that was a bonus to have him in the movie, that's not what drove me to the movie theater. I thought Tom Holland's performance in Civil War, for the amount of that we got, was perfect enough for me to be like, yes, I want to see this guy play Spider-Man more. And the fact that, we have Michael Keaton as the Vulture, which he was phenomenal as in this movie. He is like one of the up there as one of the most memorable MCU villains now, and it's gonna be great. And I just thought, listen, I have to agree with Travis right now. It might change. This opinion might change later on as I see the movie more and more. But as of right now, my initial thoughts, I do believe I find this more enjoyable than Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. In an enjoyable factor, maybe story-wise, I don't know. There was just certain aspects in Spider-Man 2 that I thought that, that it didn't keep my attention too much. But in Spider-Man Homecoming, I was, from beginning to end, dude, I was just in it. I was like, dude, it's so much fun. Seeing Spider-Man do his things, and the fact that it's not an origin story anymore, we're just jumping into his life as Spider-Man, how he's...
I mean, it does kind of double as an origin story. They just don't actually show the origin.
No,
if you know what I mean.
I understand what you mean,
really.
because,
No idea. I have literally no idea what you're talking about.
No, it's like, because the entire point of the movie is him, like, learning to be a hero and all that, and he needs to, like, become Spider-Man. And so it does feel like an origin story. You just don't actually see him get bit by a spider.
I guess.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I think the whole aspect of it, yeah, like you said, yeah, it was him like learning how to become Spider-Man. I don't know. I just felt like it was a great way of jumping in to his world already, just in the middle of it without having to, gradually get to that point, because I don't know. I thought, like I said, I enjoyed every minute of this movie, and I can't wait to see it again. But for me, as a viewer, as a fan, because Spider-Man is my number one favorite superhero of all time, I can't express enough how much I love this movie. So, yeah, Zach, what about you? Because I know you have me and you.
Yeah, I got a couple hot takes here. So I want to start off first and foremost saying I really like this movie. I really did.
Everybody gave you shit for just liking it.
I know, everyone gave me shit for just liking it. Listen, it was really fun. Like you guys said, it was really fun. I had a really fun time watching it. I laughed a lot.
You could just tell me you
I didn't hate the movie. I really, really liked it. I just didn't love it. And that's my problem with Marvel. It's the same problem I had with Guardians 2, where Guardians 2 is a really fun movie, and I had a really good time watching it, and I did really like it. I just didn't love it, because to me, a lot of it felt like just another Marvel movie. And a big problem that I had with this movie was it didn't feel like Spider-Man to me. It felt like an Iron Man movie. And while, listen, like, I love, like, one of the Iron Man movies, I just, like, I didn't want to see it. And this is a thing that my friend sort of brought up when I was talking to him the other day, is that... What? Is that Spider-Man he's always been the face of Marvel, okay? Regardless of MCU or not, he's always been the face of Marvel, and Agreed. I felt like this movie was just like, for a sizable chunk of it, was just talking down to Spider-Man, and it was just sort of like, because Spider-Man's like, I want to be like you, I want to be like Iron Man, blah, 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 and it's like, Spider-Man, he's supposed to be bigger than Iron Man, and I get it, like, he's new to this, like, he hasn't been there since the beginning, but at the same time, like, I felt like at times, it was just sort of Marvel, like, just sort of being like, hey, Sony, fuck Spider-Man a little bit, because he's still very little on our radar. And to me, it just felt kind of disrespectful to the whole idea of Spider-Man. And like I said, while I did really enjoy the movie, I really liked it, it just didn't feel like Spider-Man to me. I'll get more into it in the spoiler review for specifics, because I don't even want to spoil, like, little things.
Yeah. I hear what you mean. I don't know, I just feel like, from my perspective, I don't know, I guess, it's not really a spoiler. We don't get that much Iron Man than people expected from the trailers, so don't go into this movie.
I think like every scene that he's in the movie they show in the trailers, like at least a snippet of it.
Yeah, for real. So people at home, don't expect a lot of, like, Iron Man in this movie. But I don't know. I can definitely see where you're coming from with the whole, like, talking down to Spider-Man. Like, listen, now you're in our territory now. Understand, learn your place, everything like that. But I feel like that this might be the stepping stone of Marvel and Sony, making Spider-Man like the new face for the MCU. And I think this is just like their way of saying, like, listen, Spider-Man has to get his Spider-Man has to become Spider-Man, like how you said earlier, which I completely agree with that.
But I'll tell you why I'm a little bit nervous about that, is because Sony has 100% of the profits from this movie.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to Marvel from this. So Marvel, they're not going to be like, let's put Spider-Man at the face of everything, because they're not getting money for Spider-Man. Outside of him appearing in Avengers and stuff, they don't want Spider-Man to be the face of Marvel, because that's just bad business, because they're not getting paid for that.
I mean, from what I heard, Spider-Man's supposed to be the driving force for the next phase of Marvel.
No, he's going to kick it off, is what Kevin Feige said.
Yeah, he's going to be the first movie in Phase 4.
Was it another one of those?
Yeah, no. This was actually Kevin Feige. So yeah, while I did really enjoy the movie, I didn't love it. To me, it didn't feel like Spider-Man. They give Spider-Man this really high-tech suit, and they just, like, while it did add for some interesting dynamics and, like, the whole Karen AI thing, like, some interesting conversations and a lot of funny parts, it just, like, it didn't let Spider-Man actually use his powers, because everything was just, like, from the suit. It was like he never really, like, outside of shooting web, but even the suit did that for him. It's like, oh, well, do you want web bombs? Do you want taser webs? It has all sorts of stuff. And
climbing up the side of the,
like climbing up stuff. Yeah, climbing up stuff and all that. But, like, regardless of the fact, it's just like, I don't know. It never really felt like Spider-Man to me. It felt just like another Marvel movie that happened to take place in high school.
See, I don't know.
Actually, Brian wants to add something here.
Okay.
So, I really liked it. Like Travis and Zach are saying, I really did enjoy it. But I feel like Marvel tends to do this thing where, I want to kind of talk about what Zach said, where Sony's getting all the profits for this movie, supposedly. They're getting 100%?
Yeah, they're getting the profits for the movie.
Marvel has a tendency to kind of neglect characters that they're not, I don't want to say getting profits from, but just not being focused on, especially in the MCU. When the whole X-Men thing happened, when they I guess they tried to get the rights to the X-Men to use them in the MCU and they couldn't. They went as far as to completely cancel X-Men comics.
Oh no, that
No.
was Fantastic Four.
No,
It-
yeah.
I think it was X-Men too.
X-Men,
No, it was for
yeah,
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, they might have like cut down on X-Men, but I know the one they completely canceled. At least the first one was Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
That's the one I heard about.
So they do kind of have a history of.
Yeah,
doing
they
that.
are kind of petty with stuff.
But this movie, as much as I did like it, I didn't love it, and I think one of the reasons for that is it just didn't feel like a Spider-Man movie to me. And listening to you guys talk, I kind of realized why that is. In every Spider-Man movie that we've had, he's had to learn how to be a hero by himself. Like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, he had to do that all by himself. There was no like mentor or anything like that to help him save the day. Like when Tony Stark comes and he pulls the ship back together in Homecoming, that was kind of like, to me, it felt like it kind of took a little bit of credit away from Spider-Man. And it just didn't feel like a Spider-Man movie to me. I don't know. It was weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I 100% agree. It just, like, while I did like the movie, it just, I can't say that I liked it better than Spider-Man 2. Or even, I still think I prefer Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man over this one, just because they actually feel like Spider-Man, where this one feels like a Marvel movie that happens to have Spider-Man in it.
Yeah, like I said before, I feel like that, over time, my opinion might change.
Yeah, and that is what I think I told you right after coming out of the theater for it, is it reminds me a lot, which actually something else in it does, and we'll get that to that later, but it reminds me of when The Dark Knight Rises came out. And a lot of people, myself included, were just drinking up the Kool-Aid like, oh, it's the best one. Like, it is the best one. It's so good. It's so amazing. And then over time, people were like, all right, let's hit the brakes a little bit. Like, The Dark Knight is still amazing. Okay? Like, it's still by far the best one. And I feel like with Spider-Man Homecoming is because it was so fun and it did do the character right for most of the movie in terms of, like, actual, like, how he's supposed to act and everything. I feel that, like, everyone's just sort of drinking the Kool-Aid and like, oh my god, it's the best one, it's the best one. But I do feel like as time goes on, people are going to be like, all right, it might not be the best one, but it's still good.
Yeah, I hear what you mean.
I totally disagree.
For now.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because I felt like this version of Spider-Man was the most Spider-Man that I've seen yet.
It was the most Spider-Man-like of all the Spider-Man.
Yes.
I understand where he's getting at.
The casting was perfect. It felt like Peter Parker. It felt like Spider-Man.
Yeah, the character of Spider-Man was on point. Like, Tom Holland is
Absolutely.
probably the best
And-
Spider-Man that we've seen. But in terms of the actual, like, character of Spider-Man, they didn't let him, like, fully fly because the entire movie was about Tony Stark. Even the villain of the movie had a beef with Tony Stark. Like, and then
Now-
Spider-Man just sort of gets involved.
Yeah, I agree with you. However, I don't think that I think that you're giving Tony Stark too much credit for the film. I think that Tony Stark was in it, and I think that there were moments where he seemed like he was a little more prevalent than Spider-Man, but I definitely think it was very, very focused on Spider-Man. I think the movie was way more focused on Spider-Man than Tony Stark.
And like that's what I'm trying to say is that like the character of Spider-Man was fine. It's just how they presented him with the whole high-tech suit, AI, all these different gadgets and stuff. It just felt like more like Iron Man than it did Spider-Man. Like the character was fine, but the movie they put him in felt more like an Iron Man movie.
I still disagree because I feel like even though I feel like the suit was very much a part of him. You know what I mean? Like the suit, even though it was like very high tech and whatever, it was from Tony Stark. I feel like that was his next step in becoming Spider-Man because he was Spider-Man for how long before he got that suit? He had the other suit for forever, and he had to learn on his own.
We don't know how much time.
6
he had it
months.
for. Oh, 6 months. Apparently, we do know how much time he had it for.
They say
Either way,
it's in Civil
in
War.
those 6 months,
Oh,
he had
do
to
they?
learn how to be Spider-Man before he got that high-tech suit. And when he got the high-tech suit, he still had to learn. He was still learning how to be a hero. Even though the point of the movie was that you could have all the technology in the world, but you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You got to really understand that with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't get that line in any way, shape, or form. You know.
But I will say the one thing I did
or
not...
Uncle
one
Ben, the
problem I
poor
had
guy
with the
keeps getting
movie-
shot. We didn't have to see that again.
The one problem
They did
I had
imply
with the movie,
that part though.
They did because they mentioned.
I
about
don't think they
animes
got...
through a lot.
It's just a small point, but I don't think that they really showed the fun of web swinging very much.
I was gonna get into that more in my spoiler
That was
section.
my only real problem with the film, is that they really didn't cover that at all.
I'm gonna I have a big thing about that in our spoiler section.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, there's our initial thoughts, guys. We're gonna get into some of the news surrounding Spider-Man: Homecoming. So, yeah. So Zach, take it away with that news.
All right, so just like a couple really things here that are pretty interesting. We'll just sort of talk them through as we go. But Iron Man apparently was always a part of Homecoming, like even in the early stages of planning. Because when speaking with Den of Geek director John Watts said that Tony Stark was always meant to be like the reluctant or like sort of unintentional mentor of the Peter Parker. So he was just there from the beginning. I thought that was pretty interesting. A little bit more interesting than that, though, is that Marvel big boss Kevin Feige had an interview with the Toronto Sun, and he said that Spider-Man has a 5-movie story arc in the MCU, which goes Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers 4, and Homecoming 2. Feige also wanted to say that Homecoming sequel will be the first MCU film after Avengers 4, as Pedro just stated before, and will usher in the new era for Marvel. The Homecoming sequel will be released July of 2019. Just like a really quick fun fact here is that the screenwriters of the movie, while like 6 people were credited with the screenplay, the people that initially got it going were Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley, and they told THR that they only had 3 days to write the pitch to land the job for Homecoming. They went on to discuss how the focus was to make a coming-of-age high school film that happened to have superheroes in it, which I did feel. It did really showcase the high school element really good, which I liked. Anything to add on to that, Pedro, or just want me to keep going?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the high school feel. Yeah, definitely. I loved the whole aspect between him and his friends, and you know, it kind of made me feel like I was in high school again. You know.
Yeah, it did, and I completely agree with the fact that they said they wanted to make a high school movie that happened to have like superheroes in it, because that's what it felt like. First and foremost, it did feel like a high school movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of it that I really, really liked about it, was that it felt like a kid trying to fit in this world.
Yeah, but he's also got superpowers.
Right, he's trying to fit in that world.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So yeah, a big question I have is what the hell's going on with the Spider Sense? Because John Watts spoke with CinemaBlend and said that previous Spider-Man films have gone into the Spider Sense, so it wasn't something that they felt they need to lean on. He did go on to say that it would be interesting to explore in future films, but like Spider-Man clearly uses it in Civil War. When he's fighting Falcon and Winter Soldier, he clearly uses it. And Kevin Feige sort of went back on it though this week when he spoke to IGN, and he said he thinks that Spider-Man has Spider Sense. He echoed Watts by saying that they will explore it more further down the line. The Spider Sense comes from Peter and not the suit. But that's one thing that I really didn't like, because in like Civil War he seems more skilled as Spider-Man than he does in Homecoming and Civil Wars before, because in Civil War he's just like flying, like shooting around the webs, like all through the airport. He goes through there, he's swinging, he's zipping, everything. Then in Homecoming he's just sort of like, oh, I haven't been up this high before, what do I do? So I don't know. And they like obviously in Homecoming he just like clearly does not use the Spider Sense at all.
There is a point in the movie where I did notice that he did use the Spider Sense. It's just like it wasn't, you know,
he was using
in
it
your
the
face
entire
about
time
it.
during the last Vulture fight.
I don't know. We'll get into this in the spoiler review.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in our spoiler section, because I do have some more stuff to say. Just moving on. One thing that Tom Holland is excited to explore is Peter's journey into adulthood. He spoke with Collider and said the most interesting thing about a young man's life is his journey from being a boy to a man, and imagine that journey while also having superpowers. He went on to say that Kevin Feige and the rest of the team are excited to explore that. So, you know, that's just like, it's basic Spider-Man stuff. Like, we've seen that with the other movies. John Watts, now this is, we'll spend a little bit of time on this, because John Watts spoke with Den of Geek and said that his choice would have not been to show anything in the trailers. He did, however, say that it is a very dense movie and he feels like there was a lot left to not be spoiled.
Huh.
And while I do kind of agree with that because I was surprised in this movie quite a few times. Okay, without getting into spoilers, I was surprised quite a few times, but that infamous trailer is very similar to the one we had for Dawn of Justice last year, where literally I knew the entire outline of the movie going in. I knew the major plot points going into the movie.
Yeah.
And while it didn't affect it too much, there were at times when I'm like with the ferry scene, when that's happening, I'm like, well, I know what happens here.
Yeah.
And if I didn't know that, it would have been so cool. It would have been such an awesome reveal. And I would have liked the movie more, but that's just Sony with the advertising. Pedro, I know you laughed there. Do you agree with that, or?
Listen, like I stated earlier, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the reason why I didn't go see it in theaters is because I felt like the trailers ruined pretty much the experience for me. Now, with Spider-Man Homecoming, I was going to see it regardless. Even how much the trailer showed me, I was going to see the movie regardless because I just want to see how well it was going to fit in the MCU, just because of that curiosity. Now, when I saw the trailers and everything like that, yeah, there was a lot spoiled in the from the trailers, and especially the infamous ferry scene. You know how that you know how that kind of plays out in the beginning, and you definitely know how that plays out towards the end of that scene.
Yeah.
So there's no room for imagination before you go see the movie. Like, oh, could this happen? This, blah, blah, blah. Like when the first initial trailer for Homecoming happened and they had that scene where he was pulling it together, you trying to use it. I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, oh my god, that looks freaking awesome. I can't wait to see Homecoming. And then in the later trailers, they spoil all about that scene. I'm like, are you kidding me? So listen, now while there are aspects, like I agree with you, that in the movie there were scenes where I was like, oh wow, shit, I didn't see that coming. They should have, listen, that was a very small portion of the whole surprise factor than there would have been if the trailers had not spoiled what they had spoiled from the movie into the trailers. Listen, I don't understand why these companies feel like that you need to show so much in order to get the intrigue in audiences, because I feel like that if you put out a good trailer,
people are gonna see Spider-Man no matter what.
Exactly. Like, why did you need to do that? If they knew that Iron Man was going to be in the movie, like I said, the first trailer, it initially said, it was a great trailer, and they had some Iron Man in it. People knew Iron Man was going to be in it. That's all you needed. People knew Iron Man was going to be in it. That was, pretty much Marvel and Sony's biggest whole, selling thing. Iron Man's going to be in the movie with Spider-Man. Buy tickets. Okay, that's all you needed to do. It's like,
yeah.
If anything, the trailers later on probably stopped people from seeing the movie, because it's like, I already saw too much from the trailers. Because that's how I felt like with The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So that very well could have been the same case for people for Spider-Man Homecoming. So, I don't know, that's how I feel. I feel like there are no, like, good trailers anymore. Like, while there are trailers now that could get you excited and, like the quality of trailers nowadays are really good, but it's just like the amount of how much they show is uncalled for.
Yeah, I agree. Travis, to get to you here, I know typically you're sort of like it's about the journey, it's about the journey, not the destination kind of guy. How do you feel about in terms of what the trailer spoiled? Did it affect your enjoyment at all?
No, not at all. I do agree that it was definitely a lot of it was spoiled, and I think that every company kind of does that, but Sony's notorious for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sony's...
I remember when the original Amazing Spider-Man came out. Someone edited together all the trailers and clips and put them together in order, and it was 45 minutes of footage, which is asinine.
Yeah.
And it literally showcases all but like one or two scenes in the movie. Like you had like the entire movie in that video, and it was up on YouTube.
So ridiculous.
That's bad. Like that is really bad.
That is really
and
bad.
While Spider-Man Homecoming wasn't that insane with it, it did, like I said, it gave me the entire outline for the movie. I knew the major plot points, and I knew what was going to happen. And I knew how the third act was going to go down and how they're going to get there. There were, and we'll get into that in our spoiler part. Like I said, I was surprised a lot, but in terms of the major like plot points of like how the outline of the movie went, I did pretty much know like the basis of it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So then moving on to our last little bit here, it's just really quick. Spider-Man: Homecoming is an overwhelming success, which is really cool because he's back in the MCU. Homecoming brought in a massive worldwide debut of $257 million, which is the second most ever in the franchise, only behind Spider-Man 3. The film currently stands at 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Tom Holland told Collider that he nearly cried while reading people's reaction to the film, which is really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool to
that's
see.
awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. I think correction is oh no, you're right. It was at 94% before like a few days ago. Now it's 90.
Yeah, it's at 93 now.
Yeah, okay, you're right. Yeah.
So it's officially lower than Spider-Man 2, which is at 94%.
But
Spider-Man 2 sucks. So.
Oh boy.
but yeah, dude. I mean, I can only imagine being in Tom Holland's shoes, man. Because
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, if I did like one movie and I was like a freaking extra in it, and
Yeah.
I heard the movie was great, I'd probably cry. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And before we get into our ratings here, I just really want to talk about the cast of the movie because they were all so good. Obviously, Tom Holland, Michael Keaton, Robert Downey Jr., and Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, like the main players, they were all really good. But I also want to talk about specifically Michelle, played by Zendaya.
Yeah.
I really liked her character. I liked, even though Donald Glover was only in it for 2 scenes, he was really good. And then obviously all the other kids were really good as well. But a couple people that I do want to get into here because we do have some interesting things. Coach Wilson was played by Hannibal Buress, who I know from Neighbors, so it was cool to see him in there. Then you have Kenneth, oh man, is it Choi or Cho? It's Choi, I think it's Choi.
Yeah.
And he
Choi,
played, Principal Morita, which is actually really interesting because I was looking up some stuff, and even though there are videos that talk about it, that Pedro did kindly bring to my attention, I found it was really interesting that Kenneth Choi, he played a character in the MCU already in Captain America, the First Avenger, in World War II. He was a World War II soldier by the name of Jim Morita. And he is, the principal character he has is his grandson in Homecoming, which is a really cool connection. And I actually pointed out to you, because we saw the movie a second time after I knew that. And like on like a cabinet in the background, he has a picture of that character like in his World War II outfit stuff. So that was a really cool thing to have in there.
Chris Pine confirmed.
Yeah, Chris Pine confirmed. So then you obviously have Matt Gargan, a.k.a. eventually the Scorpion, played by Michael Mando, who I know you really like.
I really like
from
Michael Mando.
What game? Far Cry 3?
Far Cry 3, yeah, that's where he really got his.
And
he's also a big
Better
I know
Call
him.
Saul.
Yep, I was gonna say I know him from Better Call Saul. Very good in
He was
that.
also in Orphan Black.
All right.
Thank
You have.
Thank you, Natasha, for that one.
Yell at
you
his
have-
whole resume.
you have let's bring up his IMDb page. He was man number
Yeah.
3. Okay, so
His name in Orphan Black is.
you also have
Dick.
Logan Marshall Green in there as Discount Tom Hardy because
Right.
he looks just like Tom Hardy. But he's also in Prometheus. He's also in that movie Devil, the M. Night Shyamalan
Right,
movie,
and he's
which is
still
actually
Discount
not bad.
Tom Hardy.
Still Discount Tom Hardy. And then another really interesting connection is Karen, the voice, was Jennifer Connelly, who was Betty Brant, or not Betty Brant, that's Spider-Man, Betty Ross in the
You mean
original.
Betsy Ross.
What's that?
Isn't it Betsy Ross?
No, Betty Ross.
Oh.
Betty. A lot of people say Betsy, but it's Betty. She played Betty Ross in the 2003 Ang Lee Hulk movie. So that was like a really cool connection. But yeah, like I said, across the board, the cast was great. So I just wanted to mention that quickly before we went into our scores here.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember when you brought that information out about the connection between the character from the principal from Homecoming and his character in the First Avenger. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I didn't, because when I saw the movie, I'm like, why does he look so freaking familiar? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've seen this man from somewhere.
Yeah,
You know?
I knew him, and he was in The Wolf of Wall Street as well.
Oh yeah, I remember him from that. Yeah, too. So yeah, I thought that's a great connection in the MCU. I'm glad that they did that. That's pretty cool. And yeah, when I found out about the voice actress for Spider-Man's suit, that was also pretty cool. Tidbit to find out, like an Easter egg type deal, I guess. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it sounds really cool. Anything
You
you
know
guys
about
want to add
Karen?
on?
You know another interesting fact about the girl who played Karen?
What's that?
She is married to Paul Bettany, who played
Oh,
Oh,
Jarvis.
he's Jarvis and,
And
Vision.
Vision, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
I didn't know that.
They were both AIs in the.
Yeah, that's
See
very
you.
interesting.
Yeah, I actually thought about that. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Yes, do you guys want to
Anyway.
get into our scores?
Yeah, we'll get into our scores before spoilers, just in case people want to know our scores but don't want to be spoiled. So consideration.
Great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll go last. I'll let we'll start off with Travis, then we'll go to Pedro.
Yay. All right. So, yeah, I walked on the movie and I immediately knew what score I was gonna give it. I was gonna give it 9.4. It's a 9.4 movie.
All right. Great final thoughts.
I mean, like, what else?
Yeah, we covered
can't
a
do
lot.
spoilers.
Yeah,
so-
we'll do more in the spoiler section, of course. And
Yeah.
Pedro.
Yeah, for me, I freaking adored this movie. I'm definitely going to go see it a second time. And I can't wait to see where Spider-Man's going to be leading off in the future for the MCU. So for me, I'm going to be giving it a 9.2 out of 10.
Oh wow.
It's really low.
I am lower. So like I said, I really liked the movie. I didn't quite love it. It was fun. You know, I enjoyed it.
Piece of shit.
Oh God, kill him. So
If you say anything lower than an 8.5, I might kill you.
well,
Oh,
get that,
you're gonna
get that
kill
knife
him,
ready. Because my score for Spider-Man Homecoming when it came out of the theater was an 8 out of 10, my initial rating, and I did see it a second time. And since I saw it a second time, that has been bumped up to an 8.3. So that is my rating for Spider-Man Homecoming.
I might
8
not
point-
kill you.
Yeah, 8.5. That's really the line where I start to love a movie. That's like, this movie was really good. I really love this movie. And then if you're a 9, I like really fucking love the movie. But so since I didn't quite love Spider-Man Homecoming, it's at 8.3.
I'm crying.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, I remember you told me your initial score on the phone when I was talking to you on the phone when you walked out. You gave it like a 7.5 from what I remember.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's like a 7.5 or 8. Then I sort of like stuck with 8 there in the days after. But
Yeah.
then when I saw it again, I was like, all right, so it's like an 8.3.
Yeah, as soon as you said 7.5, I like freaked out on the phone, like what? But yeah, so yeah, guys. So our average rating between the three of us, our P&Z Media rating score is going to come out to a 9 out of 10.
Wow, that's pretty nice and even there. Doesn't
Yeah.
happen too often.
Yeah, it is 8.9666666.
Well, we round
so,
up. We round
yeah,
up, so 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
Right,
So,
not 8.9666.
Yeah.
so yeah, 9 out of 10 for Spider-Man Homecoming, the P&Z Media official score. All right, guys. So you have been warned that we are now going to be moving on to our spoiler-filled discussion of Spider-Man Homecoming. So if you,
haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming, stop what you're doing right now and go see Spider-Man Homecoming. You have a good
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, so see you guys next time. People who want to stay and listen to our thoughts on the whole movie, let's get into
Let's
this.
get into it. And at the end of our spoiler discussion, we'll be asking an interesting question, which we'll be doing in like all reviews coming up. We'll have like a sort of like question that we'll all answer and kick back to the fans to see if they want to answer. You know, so yeah, exciting. So yeah, spoilers. You guys just want to start with the big one?
Yeah.
Yeah, about how Vulture is Liz's father.
Yeah, I did not see that coming.
I don't think anybody did.
I was dumbfounded. I was
amount of-
sitting next
The amount
to
of
Travis.
gasps
Yeah.
I've heard in that theater when
I
that
was
happened.
sitting next to Travis, and I think the exact noise out of my mouth was something along the lines of something like that.
Listen, that was the moment when that happened. It reminded me of the time when I saw 22 Jump Street, and it showed that Ice Cube was the father of the
Yeah.
guy yeah, and
Yeah.
everybody had that exact same reaction, and I love that.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
I did
The gasps,
almost.
I saw the movie twice, and both times the gasps through the
Oh
theater.
yeah.
were
Especially because when
insane.
we saw it the other day, it was crowded. It was like almost sold out. It might have been sold out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like literally because as we went on, like we heard like some laughs, but it wasn't like the big like ultra like crazy experience that I thought a packed theater would be. Then as soon as that happened, you just heard, "Oh, no way!" all throughout the theater.
on my movie theater, real quick. All I heard after that, all I heard in the background, my movie theater is, "You're fucked." That's what I heard.
That's so funny. I almost caught it. Well, I won't say I almost caught it. I had an assumption at one point because at the beginning of the movie, Michael Keaton is holding a picture of all the drawing stuff. And they're like, oh, yeah, kid's got a future. And then later on, you see Michelle drawing. So I thought, like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if he's, like, Michelle's father? And that's sort of what I was thinking. Then he goes to pick up Liz, and he answers the door. I'm like, oh, well, that's different.
Yeah.
But can I talk
Yeah.
about that scene for a second?
Yeah.
So from the moment he enters the door to the moment Peter gets out of the car and walks into the school, I think that is one of the greatest scenes in film history.
Film history?
In film history.
It's my favorite scene of the
Ever.
movie. I wouldn't say film history.
That is
Well, when he threatens Peter.
The whole scene.
The whole scene from when he answers the door to
until...
when Peter walks into the school. I think that is one of the best scenes I have ever seen.
I wouldn't
my
say
life.
film history. I'd say it's one
In
of
my
the
life.
I'd say it's one of the best scenes of the MCU.
That is
Yeah,
it's probably
definitely.
the best scene in the MCU.
I don't know. Like
It's-
that's my secret cap. I'm always angry. Like, come on.
I loved that scene so much. I love that scene as much as I love the diner scene from Baby Driver. Like the amount of like suspense I felt during that scene, and like it was pretty much the same exact amount of suspense that I felt at the end of Get Out
You
when I was
see-
like on the edge of my seat, like
yeah.
in Get Out.
I had no suspense in that scene whatsoever because I knew what was going to happen due to the trailers. So
See, now that's where I do disagree with that because while I did know, I'll get into it more now just in case people in the non-spoiler section didn't watch any of the trailers. But going into the movie, I knew he's going to be Spider-Man. He's going to be doing some fun stuff. He's going to do the fairy scene. Tony Stark's going to save the day. Tony Stark's going to take his suit. Spider-Man's going to fight Vulture with his old suit. I knew all that going in.
Right.
So like I said, I knew the basic outline of the movie and all of that held up. But when that scene happened, even though I knew that they were going to fight, like I was not worried that he was going to shoot like Spider-Man in the head and kill him.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause I knew that wasn't going to happen, but it didn't take anything away from the scene itself because of how suspenseful and how tense it was, and even just Tom Holland's acting, where they're like taking pictures and he's just like staring at him. I was like, oh my god, like he's like scared shitless, like
Yeah.
he's like holy fuck.
When,
dude,
he's
that
like, "Is
was
a
the most
corsage?"
funniest thing.
Yeah, he just hands it to it.
And I just love how Michael Keaton just kept calling Peter Pedro.
Yeah, it was actually really funny because I saw the movie on Friday, and I know Natasha saw it on Thursday, as did you, Pedro.
Yeah.
And she sent a picture of Vulture saying, "Hey, Pedro," and I didn't get it. I was just like, "Oh, that's kind of stupid."
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure why she's having Vulture saying, "Hey, Pedro." Then the movie, he's like, "Hey, Pedro." I'm like, "Oh, that's why."
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to say anything. I was like, "Oh, come on, you're gonna spoil something if I say
Yeah,
something."
like I did not like catch on even when she said that, and then when they did, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's why.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was funny. And yeah, just sort of going back to that scene, that whole twist, it was so well done. Like, cause
Yeah.
it was just
They didn't hint at it at all.
at
Which
all
was amazing.
Like, you knew he had a family, but then like even on the bus trip, like
Yeah.
the mom picks
And
her
even
up.
the second time watching it, I didn't notice any hints throughout.
Yeah.
Like it was very like, I mean, there probably was like the family part and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but stuff like that. But like it was, the hints were so vague that you could never pin it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how you do a twist.
yeah, it was a very well done twist.
And I still think it's one of the best scenes of cinema
It
history.
was my favorite scene in the movie. The only scene that comes close to it, and I know I told you during our second viewing that my second favorite scene in the movie is after like the building like collapses on him and he's stuck under the ground.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Come on,
Yes.
Spider-Man! Come on, Spider-Man!" That scene's awesome.
That
Like,
scene is really
that's
good,
my
too.
second favorite scene of the
That
movie.
I didn't
when
like
I
that scene
saw-
the first time I saw it though.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I really did.
Only because
It got me pumped. I'm like, "Yeah, come on,
It got me
Spider-Man!
pumped
Yeah."
too. It got me pumped too, but like I don't know. For me, it was a little weird. Like I don't know. It felt kind of off. Like it was kind of out of place for the movie.
No,
But that's because
Listen.
the movie was just so happy and joyful
I thought he was
throughout,
just
and
gonna
then
say
at the
no.
no.
Just no.
Thanks,
Listen,
Peter.
for me, when I saw that scene where he was like practically crying at that point, where he's just like, "Help, somebody!"
You
help,"
felt
like,
it. Like, you really felt it at that point.
Exactly.
He's like, "I
I'm
can't
like-
move. I'm stuck down here." Because at that exact
Yeah, no,
moment, I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like, he's still just a fucking kid. You
Yeah.
know, like he's
I
still.
I
a
totally agree.
15-year-old
No,
kid.
I totally felt it too. Because like when he said like when
Because
he-
his voice was cracking and everything.
when his
Tom
voice was
Holland
cracking, and
so
everything,
good
he
in
was
that
so
scene.
good. But like
This fucking movie again.
yeah.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
No, I got chills when I heard his voice like crying out
Mm-hmm.
like that. I was just like, oh my god, like
Okay, that's one thing I really liked. That's what made it feel more like a Spider-Man movie for me. Because I was like, oh, Iron Man's gonna come save him.
Yeah.
Like, there's something's gonna happen. He's not gonna be able to do it. Someone's gonna save him, and he's the one who saves himself. At that
Yeah.
point, I was like, all right, yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely-
ironically, I should say unironically, to me, when it felt like a Spider-Man movie was after he lost the Tony Stark suit. When he just had a suit
That might have
without
been the
all the
point.
bells and whistles, was at that point it felt like Spider-Man.
That was
again.
the point.
I feel like that was Marvel's way of being like, yo, here's Spider-Man in the MCU, but he could also stand by.
Yeah, I know, but my only worry is now that he has the suit back that we see at the end of the movie, it's gonna go back to being like, all right, let's do
However,
all these cool Iron Man like
Can we talk
gadget
about
stuff.
the best F-bomb in cinema history?
Well, they did not close out the F bomb.
Right.
You only got the FU in there. You got
Right,
the fuck.
Oh, dude, that
still-
was perfect.
It was
Yeah.
so perfect.
And it adds in an interesting dynamic going forward, because it's not sort of like the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, in like the Raimi films where like you knew that Aunt May like knew he was Spider-Man, but
Yeah.
like she never like comes out and says it, you know,
Right.
like other than like the I think we all need a hero speech where you're like, all right, so she knows,
Right.
like she knows, but like it was sort of that dynamic, but now in this one, like Aunt May's just going forward, she's just gonna straight out know he's Spider-Man. And he has the conversation with Ned earlier in the movie, like Aunt May can't know because she's already been through so much because apparently her husband got shot at some point. So it adds a
can
really
we talk
interesting
about how they
dynamic.
never mentioned that during the movie and how awesome it was that they didn't mention it? Because we all knew. We saw it twice.
Yeah, we knew, and I do like how it sort of after Ned finds out, the only mention of like the actual specific origin was Ned being like, "So you got bit by a spider? Like, could it bite me?" He's like, "Spider's dead. Like, Spider's dead, Ned." And then that's it. Like, so
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, because in the comics, throughout most of the comics, at least from what I remember in like the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, Aunt May knows he's Spider-Man for a good chunk of the time.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to actually finally see that dynamic coming up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's gonna definitely add something new.
Yeah.
Let's just
I mean, to be
You know,
fair,
let's just
if
talk about
if anything
how
goes on for longer than 6
attractive
months, someone's probably gonna find
a
out about it.
50-year-old
Let's.
Aunt May is. Like,
Yeah, Marissa Tomei is very attractive.
Yeah.
We did know that. And what I really like about the movie was that they didn't like make her a complete sex object.
yeah.
At times they kind of did, like when like the waiter came up, he's like, "No, it's on the house," and sort of winks at her.
Yeah, but the Tony Stark thing, because that's how Tony Stark.
And then
is.
the Tony Stark thing I felt was unnecessary when he's like, "Something
No, it
skimpy,
was
I hope."
awesome.
That was
Like,
hilarious. Fuck you. That
I
was
don't know. I
awesome.
felt like it was kind of unnecessary, but because it distracted from the fact I'm about to bring up. I really, really liked Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. She felt just like a real person to me, like a real caring aunt. Like when they're even like before the it's on the house thing, when they go out and she's like having the conversation about larb. Like, is it not larby enough? Too larby, you know? Like, I larb you. I'm like she's like so real. And then like when she's so nervous and she like confronts him and she's like, "Listen, like I know all this stuff. Like I know all this. Like you got to talk to me. What's going on?" Like I really, really liked her performance as Aunt May.
Yeah, she was real, you know. So that
Yeah.
I really liked her performance, and yeah. So I mean, other than that, you know, freaking. I mean, what else do you guys? I mean, it was cool to
I
see.
want to bring up how fucking cool that Spider-Man suit looked at the end of the movie. That Tony Stark was like, "Yeah, why don't you throw this one
Yeah.
on?" That was like the coolest fucking thing I've seen in my life. And then at the
Yeah,
end
the
of the
Iron
movie,
Spider suit.
yeah, then at the end of the movie, he gives him back just the regular Spider-Man suit. I'm like, no, I want to see the first one. That was
I'm
so
sure
fucking
the
cool.
Iron Spider's gonna come back.
And like Infinity War or something.
Probably at the
I could see that,
at
yeah.
the end of Infinity War. I
Yeah.
can see him wearing.
Yeah,
it.
that'd be really cool. But yeah, it was cool to see Gwyneth Paltrow back as Pepper Potts.
That
we
was
have-
a cool
We have not
cameo.
seen her since Iron Man 3.
Yeah,
which
And
was
so apparently they're
2013.
getting married now. So
Yeah. What
Yeah.
was the deal with that anyway? Did she just not want to be part of it, or?
I'm not sure. I know in Civil War she wasn't in it, and they're like, yeah, we're kind of separated because I didn't stop being Iron Man, but now they're not.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But
My assumption is that she probably wanted to be written out of it, and then she decided that she wanted to come back. Or something.
yeah, it was cool to see her, though. It's always a pleasure to see Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan.
Oh my God, yeah.
Always a pleasure.
I love Jon Favreau.
Yeah, so, one thing I do want to talk about is Flash Thompson, played by Tony Revolori. Very interesting take on Flash Thompson, because what we've seen, because you had Joe Manganiello play him in the original Raimi movie,
Yeah.
and then you had, I don't know, someone else play him in the Amazing Spider-Man, but both iterations were that very football,
Jockey.
like, captain jockey, like, I'm going to put you in a locker guy. And this Flash Thompson, he was just like this little shit, you know?
Yeah.
And I really liked it because it was like this modern take of this bully. Because like with bullies, you don't really have like too many of like the big meathead bullies anymore.
Yeah.
You're in like the cyberbullying stage now. And like Flash Thompson's character in this movie just struck me as like that really like privileged kid who just really picks on this other kid for no reason.
Yeah.
And it actually felt like real and modern to
Just
me.
DJ Flash.
DJ Flash. That was so
It's like,
funny.
when I say penis, you say
Yeah,
Parker.
when I say penis, you say Parker. Penis, Parker.
Dude, I'm telling you this right now. When I saw the movie and that scene came up, I was sitting next to a friend, and it was like, you shouldn't come here. And they showed that scene. I was like, if I heard that through the phone, I would have went there. I would have decked him in the face, dude.
Dude, how
No
about
way.
when he takes his car and immediately crashes it into the bikes?
Oh my god.
Remember when he was like, yeah, that part where he's like doing it through the phone.
Yeah.
Like he was already dressed as Spider-Man. I would have just been like, I just would have showed up and been like, yeah, what's up?
How about when he's like, that's not Spider-Man, that's just Ned in a red shirt. He kept playing the bam bam thing. And so yeah, I really did, because like I don't want to say I like the character because you're supposed to hate him, which
Yeah.
you do,
Yeah.
but like I really liked the take on him because you were just like, God, I hate this kid. Like I just fucking hate him.
I just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah. It does
Yeah.
kind of.
Can I be the one to expel Peter?
Can I be the one to tell him he's expelled?
Yeah, I know a lot of people I read on comment sections on YouTube, which you should never do, people.
don't
I
read
keep
YouTube
reading all these
comments.
comments about how everybody just hates the take on the new Flash Thompson, and I'm like, listen,
I
you gotta-
completely disagree. I fucking loved him.
Yeah, I like it
I feel
too.
like people
I didn't
have
love
to
him, but I
adapt
liked him.
to changes.
I love to hate him.
Oh.
Yeah, no, yeah, I completely agree. Like when I first saw like, oh, that's Flash, like that's weird. But when I saw the movie, I was like, okay, it fits. You know, because they're in a very well educated
Yeah.
school. You know, and
They're in Queens.
real quick, the sidetrack from this. I just love when they were in gym and they had the Captain America thing going on. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure this guy's a war criminal now.
I laughed so hard when he's like, my good friend, your gym teacher. He pointed to the opposite side that he was standing on. That was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my
so,
God.
and then it's like,
I love those videos, and I know you told me during the movie, like if this movie was only those Captain America videos, I'd be so okay with it.
so you got the tension.
You screwed up. Like, it was so fun. Then obviously the end credits.
Literally, if the movie was called Spider-Man: Homecoming and it was just those videos, I'd be like, all right.
they were so funny. So yeah,
And since we're on the topic, we might as well talk about the end credit scene,
yeah,
the last end credit scene.
yeah, with patience and all that.
Yeah,
That was really
where
funny.
it was one of those
that was a big
videos.
troll.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was so funny though. Even though we knew that was coming the second time, we're like, well, we got to stay for the patience one because this
Yeah,
is great.
It is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a couple more things I do want to bring up is I know I touched on it, just didn't feel like Spider-Man. I know Brian, or no, I think it was you who said you had a problem that you never really see him like swinging around. And that was another problem I had. You don't see him swinging around like the city and all. 'Cause he's like in Queens for like the entire movie. And then like Spider-Man drives like to get to where he needs to go in the third act, which was like it set up a really funny scene for
Yeah.
when he crashed into the bikes immediately. But like I want to see Spider-Man swinging through the city. You know, like
Yeah.
that's Spider-Man, and we didn't get that at all.
However, the ending, the airplane battle
Yeah.
was fucking awesome.
Yeah, but
Like,
he wasn't swinging around like through like the skyline and stuff. Like Vulture was the perfect villain to have that sort of high rise like midair battle with above Manhattan.
I agree.
That would have been so cool, like swinging through the buildings and vultures flying and stuff. That would have been so cool, and it just feels like such a big missed opportunity to me. And while it was really cool to have the scene like on the jet, I feel like it would have been better if the scene was at like Stark Tower, like the
Yeah.
outside of Stark Tower in Manhattan. Like that would have been so much better to me.
Yeah, that
because
would have been
you
awesome.
would have, because it could have like I would have forgiven the fact that you don't see him swinging around because it would have built to it for the big reveal at the end, but it never did.
Yeah.
And that was a big problem I had with it. Another big problem was I know I mentioned The Dark Knight Rises before, and this is really funny because the end of the movie, Zendaya's character Michelle, she's like, "Oh, my friends call me MJ." I did not like that. I did not like that at all.
Neither did I.
I absolutely love the character Michelle throughout the movie. That Zendaya did very good. I really liked her character. She was very funny. Like at prom or at homecoming when she like waves and then immediately flips off
Yeah.
like Peter. That was so funny. And like her character, just sort of that like, yeah, I don't give a shit about anything like character was like really funny and like she was really good in the movie. And I just felt it was so forced at the end to be like, oh well, I go by MJ.
Yeah,
Because
and
like
she's not even the real MJ.
It's like an
no,
afterthought.
no, no.
No,
It's
she's
so-
not.
No, it's sort of because I don't know. You don't know at this point because to me, I feel like it's clearly
No, because
staying.
they were asked about that.
What's that?
They were asked about it, and they said
No.
that she's not the same MJ Watts. She's
No,
not.
they
Jane
sort of
Watson.
were going back and forth with it. We're like, oh, like we don't know. We know she's MJ, but blah blah. It could be a different take. They were going back and forth with it. Now, it reminded me. This is really funny because immediately after seeing the movie, I called Pedro, as I tend to do after seeing movies, and I was talking to him, and I told him. I was like, it reminded me of The Dark Knight Rises, when Joseph Gordon-Levitt is like, oh, it's my birth
Yes!
name, Robin.
That's exactly what Brian said, and I totally agreed with him.
And that's exactly what I said to
I
Pedro.
agree. She shouldn't have been MJ. I
And,
agree with that.
and Pedro, he was like, it's funny because Jeremy Johns released a spoiler discussion
Yeah.
of Spider-Man Homecoming, and he said that exact same thing, like almost verbatim, because that's exactly what it was like.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is exactly what it was like. And so I just, like I said, I really liked her character. I just did not like that they forced that in there at the end.
I agree.
Now, real quick, last thought before we get into our question at the end. How cool is it that that they gave us like a hint at Miles Morales with
Yeah, because Donald Glover played Aaron Davis,
Yeah.
who in the comics is the Prowler, and he is the uncle of Miles Morales. And in the movie, he says, "I got a nephew." So
Yeah.
that was really cool. They have a very and so I hope they bring Donald Glover back because even though he was only in 2 scenes, he was very memorable in the movie. Like the scene was like, "Come on,
Yeah.
man, I got ice cream in here." like that was really funny, and I really like him I always liked him as an actor, especially since he sort of ventured into more serious stuff like he did with like The Martian he was in as a supporting character.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to watch Atlanta because I heard he's absolutely phenomenal in that show, and he also wrote and directed. He wrote I think all of it, and he directed a lot of it too. So yeah, I really like him as an actor, and just the hint at Miles Morales was enough to get me really excited.
Yeah, definitely. So that's really cool. All right, so you guys want to move on to this question?
Yeah, sure. Last thing I want to say though, I did not like how he beat the Vulture. How he just sort of picked up Tony Stark's weapon or the arc reactors and flew up, and then his suit just sort of exploded.
Yeah.
To me, it was very anticlimactic.
I agree. It was very anticlimactic, but I did like that Spider-Man did try to save him at the end. Like,
Yeah,
that
to
showed
me,
that
it
little
tried
bit.
a little bit too hard to be close to Spider-Man 2,
Yeah.
where it's like, all right, well, because like he was like beaten and stuff like Doc Ock was, and then like Doc Ock ends up sacrificing himself. He just, and this one it was like the same type of thing. He just didn't sacrifice himself. He just
Yeah.
was like, well, I'm gonna fly away, and then the thing beats him. And to me, it was just very anticlimactic. But I really
agree.
liked Michael Keaton. I wish he was in the movie a little
And
bit
before
more.
we talk about the
actually.
Cletus Cassidy thing, how about the Matt Gargan prison scene?
Yeah, the first end credit scene, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think he'll be the main villain in the sequel. I think he'll be more of like a side villain.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
or
who
they
the-
could be setting up Sinister Six.
They could, but that's my issue is that Sony has like their own sort of Marvel universe that's outside of this,
Yeah.
and we know that Venom, Mysterio, and Kraven are already going to be in that. So
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
that they set up half the Sinister Six in the MCU, then the other half in there. So I feel like
Yeah.
Scorpion is going to show up in the sequel. I think he'll either be like an opening villain or like a side
Yeah.
villain throughout. I'm not sure who the major villain will be though. I'm very curious to see though because they said that they want to do people we haven't seen before. So we're not going to get Green Goblin for the 4th time,
Right.
which is cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, even though they should introduce Norman Osborn at some point. And you brought up an interesting point about Earth Theory.
Yeah, I actually read a theory online about. Well, I didn't really read a theory, but I read the whole article on the question, "Who bought Stark Tower?" And it's a really good question because there's a lot of different
Oh,
theories.
shit.
There's a lot of different theories flying around. The biggest theory right now is that Oscorp bought Stark Tower, and
Which
that
is really cool.
Oscorp is going to be
That
centered
I
in New
can see
York.
that definitely being the case.
That would probably be the most likely. There are other theories that that this is the
Because
Fantastic
Peter does
Four
not meet
introduction.
Harry Osborn until
college, basically.
yeah.
Yeah, but I know that there's a few other like crazy theories where they're set up for the Fantastic Four. It's gonna be the Fantastic Four.
No,
Tower.
Marvel doesn't give a
No.
shit about the
Yeah.
Fantastic Four. They're
No,
not
they
those
don't.
rights
They don't
back.
care at all. But
Yeah, they're like whatever. Fox, just keep those rights.
those are like the biggest theories I've heard so far. And the biggest one is, and the most obvious one, that is probably gonna be Oscorp,
Yeah.
yeah.
which is gonna be really interesting.
All right. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the spoiler discussion there.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're gonna get into our final part of the Spider-Man: Homecoming
Like
review,
the
where we're just
quest- as Dane DeHaan said as Harry Osborn in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it is the question of the day. Actually, I don't
Yeah.
think he said that in the movie. I think he said that only in the trailer, which is another problem I have with trailers.
For real. So yeah, the question is for all three of us, who should play Carnage in the Venom movie? And we all have a person that we have picked. And Travis, let's start with you. Who do you think should play Carnage in the Venom movie?
So I didn't actually pick a person. However, I did pick a kind of pick a person because Zach did say this originally when we were watching Amazing Spider-Man 2. I always said that I liked Dane DeHaan as an actor. I think Dane DeHaan could be a really good actor if, he was cast correctly. I think Dane DeHaan would play a good Cletus Cassidy, honestly, a good Carnage, because he has that... all of it. Every time he acts, he has that kind of, like, inside rage that just, like... It looks like... You could tell he's just mad all the time at everything. And I feel like that's how Cletus Cassidy should be played.
I just feel like that would take me out of the movie if they casted Dane DeHaan in another Spider-Man-esque movie. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna just like speak on behalf of I think everyone. I'm gonna say keep Dane DeHaan the hell away from Spider-Man. Okay, he was terrible in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Terrible.
Yes, I agree, but I think that was more the fault of the directors than
I
than the actor
don't
himself.
know, man. Like I don't know. I just man, like could I see
Because I think
it?
I think
like,
it was
maybe.
I think it had a lot more to do with the costume than the actual performance. But I think that the performance wasn't great.
He just looks
but...
way too young for a Cletus Cassidy for me. In
Well, my
mind.
person is young as well.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. Do you want to go with your?
Yeah,
your
I'll go
choice?
with my choice is on the younger side. It is Will Poulter. He's in movies such as We're the Millers. He's the blonde kid with the weird looking face. And he is also in Maze Runner. And he's going to be in Catherine Bigelow's upcoming movie, Detroit. He's that blonde hair like cop in the movie. And while he is on the younger side, he just has that very sort of like crazy look about him.
Yeah.
And like we know he can act, and he looks really good in Detroit from what we've seen as just like that sort of as like a police officer, like a gone bad, And I would just really like to see what he can do if he got his teeth on like a role like this. I feel like he could really just like hit a home run.
He was a
with
kid in
it.
The Revenant too, right?
Yeah, he was also in The Revenant.
Mhm.
Yeah, I forgot he was in that.
Can I say mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian
That's
has
what-
one he would like to say.
Jesse Plemons.
Oh, from he's Breaking Bad. Yeah, he played oh, what was his name? They called him Meth Damon because he looks like Matt Damon. Oh my god, I cannot believe. Oh, Todd. Yeah. Yeah, he played Todd in Breaking Bad. Yeah, that'd be a really good pick. I do actually like that.
That's actually funny because I have a couple choices who could play Cletus Cassidy / Carnage, and that was one of them. That wasn't my main pick, but that was one of them. But the other side pick could have been Norman. I think it's Norman Reedus, right?
Norman
His name?
Reedus from The Walking Dead. And
Oh, that would be
Boondock
pretty
Saints.
interesting.
Yeah, I could see that.
I would like to see him play him. But if that wasn't the case, my main pick would be Jake Gyllenhaal. Because, we have seen him in movies like Nightcrawler play that weird, creepy guy type role.
I could see
so
that.
if he could,
Actually,
Or Donnie Darko.
he's very transformative too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if he can amp that up by 1,000 and become some crazy fucking psychotic serial killer
I just
type
want Chris
character.
Pratt to play every role. So
Chris Pratt. Okay. They should just get Logan Marshall Green to play Cletus Cassidy. That way you can have Tom Hardy and Discount Tom Hardy going at it.
Oh my god.